On tonight's Andy and Ari on 3 instant reaction presented by BetMGM, we got a lot to talk about. Miami dominates Florida. What does that mean for Billy Napier's future with the Gators? Indiana looks like an absolute wagon and demolishes Illinois. This year's Indiana better than last year's Indiana? It sure looks like it. Michigan goes to Nebraska, runs the ball down the Cornhuskers' throat when it matters the most. Oklahoma survives against Auburn with a defense that was ferocious and sacked Jackson Arnold 10 times. Wisconsin looks absolutely hopeless. Clemson also looks absolutely hopeless. We'll talk about all of that and more on tonight's edition of Andy and Ari on 3. We are presented by BetMGM. And if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB, as in college football, CFB, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app, sign up using the bonus code CFB. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure to use the bonus code CFB when you sign up. Now, if you've already signed up for BetMGM, we got something for you too. On September 19th and 20th, so Friday and Saturday, we got a college football parlay boost token. No matter where the college football action is, there's nothing like getting in the game and leveling up your next parlay. Use this parlay boost token to boost your potential payout from a winning college football parlay. We also, on Friday and Saturday, the 19th and the 20th, have a college football odds boost token. It's time to zero in on every snap. Activate your odds boost token on any college football bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. So make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary with BetMGM. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers are not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER in the U.S., call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, call 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, call 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, or 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use the bonus code CFB and get your $1,500 first bet offer today. Welcome to Andy and Ari on 3, presented by BetMGM. It is your instant reaction show. And oh, Lord, Ari, we have so much to talk about today. I am at the offices of Sooner Scoop in Norman, Oklahoma, our excellent Oklahoma site. And I just got to shout out Carrie Murdoch, Eddie Radosevich, and George Stoya III for being incredible hosts. I mean, I got Carrie buying me pizza here. This is incredible. This place is glorious. I saw a really good game between Oklahoma and Auburn on Saturday. Definitely felt different about the two teams than when I watched them play last year. But we'll get to that a little bit later in the show because I think there are some more pressing games that we need to talk about that just finished, Ari.
Yeah. Kerry, their office is insane. I don't know if you got to watch the games in that front room with the 4 TVs. Like I told you, Mr. Murdoch bought me dinner last year too. What a host. I got to say, it was a rough situation not being there with you, but I'm happy that you saw a great bad beat and a great game. And I thought that today was a really,
it was a horrific beat. We'll talk about that later.
I saw somebody, Andy's tweet tonight. I can't remember who it was who said, I don't know if it feels this way, but I thought today was kind of a weak day. And I was like, what?
Oh, what?
Like, I thought like today was an awesome day.
Did that person not watch North Texas Army? I mean, even that game was awesome.
I mean, I got to tell you, I was locked in on UNLV, and I got to say, the kid's back. We're going to get to that. I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah, UNLV Miami of Ohio was something too. But
Andy, let's start at Miami and Florida, okay?
Let's do that.
So this was one of the games that I got wrong in our picks. You got it right. I overthought the process.
One of the few I got right.
I got to say, when Cormani McClain picked off Carson Beck with 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, heading into the fourth quarter, around midfield in a 6-point game, I felt like I was in the personal hell of every Miami fan on earth because of all the people who could have made that play too. You're talking about a 5-star prospect that Miami wanted out of high school, Florida kid, all that. And I thought, wow, Florida has played an awful football game for 3.5 quarters for the most part.
And here they are 6 points away in Miami territory. Yes.
And that's when I thought, like, yeah, that's why I took the 7, because it's an in-state rivalry. It's a tough opponent. It's very bitter. And then Miami murdered them for the rest of the game. Florida drove down. They ran a route short on 4th and 3.
Yeah, I was saying, don't forget running a 2-yard route on 4th and 3.
And yeah, because they could have taken the lead on that drive, and instead they completed a 2-yard pass on 4th and 3, which I thought was kind of more of an encapsulation. I was like bitching to Andy throughout the entire game of like, why is Florida doing this?
And he's like, coaching. Every response I had was coaching ?
How does Florida have so many good players and are so bad? Coaching? How do you run a route short on 4th and 3? Coaching? I don't know what the other ones were, but it was very.
So
funny.
I wrote a column for On 3. It's up right now. You can read it. This was the perfect encapsulation of the Billy Napier experience. You had 10 guys on the field goal block team, which, is better than when they did 8 against Utah 2 years ago. So I think that's improvement, I suppose. They had predictable mind-numbing play calling. They gained, 32 yards on 22 plays in the first half. They did have a spark where you thought, and this is part of the Billy Napier experience. There's always a point where there's this little bit of a spark, and you're like, "Oh, wait a second, maybe they can do this." And
so
Jaden Baugh fed him. 11-play, 80-yard drive ends with a Jaden Baugh grown-ass man run. 231 pounds of Jaden Baugh coming right at you, and it's 13-6. And Cormani McClain picks it off, and it's like, there it is. That's the spark. And it's going to flicker and fade and die. And it did. That's exactly what happened. It flickered and faded and died because Cormani McClain gets the interception. They turn it over. Miami gets it back, goes 3 and out. Florida gets it back, goes 3 and out. And then Miami embarks on a 13-play, 80-yard drive, which was a lot of the plays you saw in the first half where Miami would hand off. The back would hit the pile about 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. Then the whole pile would just move for 5 more yards. There must have been 6 plays on that drive like that.
Yeah. So I think it is kind of interesting that you wrote the column that you did about this tonight, because every single time we talk about Florida, you go, yeah, that was the perfect encapsulation of the Billy Napier experience, like every week. And it really
he does it every time. He's consistent in his inconsistency, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I don't know if this is like breaking news, but I think that like I finally resigned myself to like he's not the guy tonight. Maybe that should have happened last year. Well, I still was kind of holding out reservations because I am maybe overcorrecting my inability to escape the moment by staying out of the moment for too much. I think that I thought maybe, if Florida won this game, even if they would have won this game ugly, like a 20-16 type situation or whatever it was turning out to look like there at the end of the third quarter, that they could have had the bounce that they had last year in terms of like, hey, because you know what, Andy, that little flickering light that you keep referencing is intoxicating as hell, dude. It's intoxicating though when it's happening.
Yeah. So this is you not being able to let go of 5 stars. This is the same thing. Like when a 5-star is transferred 4 times and he's at his 4th school and he's stunk at his first 3 and you're like, but he was a 5-star. Like that's you. You can't let Billy Napier go because he gets 5 stars and you get that little spark and you're like, but you see he right there.
Yeah.
But then the same thing happens every time.
Vance William here in the chat said, or you should come up with a name for a coach who ruins your stars matter belief. I guess maybe the name would be Billy Napier. I don't know. Like the thing that's interesting about Florida is last year they stunk because they didn't have enough good players. So the fact now that they actually have some
they
players
had enough good play. Like they beat Ole Miss last year. Ari, they had enough good players last year.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they didn't have enough good players.
But like, if you go back and look at the Billy Napier,
how many good players do you need? Like, I wonder, like, if you put Billy Napier in charge of 2022 Georgia, would they go 9-3?
That is an absurdly crazy question to ask, and the fact that you have to ask it is the reason we're in this position. But Andy, remember last year when we were walking out of the stadium in Gainesville, like our discussion about Florida was like, yeah, well, they didn't get any better. It wasn't that they didn't have any players. It was that they didn't have enough to be Florida. And like this year, I felt like they actually had enough to be old vintage Florida, and it still looks the same. And part of that too is that DJ Lagway has not flashed in the way that I would have hoped and thought. But it just, the thing that is most frustrating to me more than anything when watching Florida is that they could conceivably win the games they're losing, and they're losing because of grab ass. Now, I don't know if they would have won had Florida gone and scored on the drive where they were short on the fourth down.
No, Miami was better.
Miami beat the crap out of them, which then is a nice transition to the takeaway from this football game, which is, and you were online and you were watching this, but people are like, here comes another Mario Cristobal special here. And like, I think that when a coach has that reputation, like it's very easy to fall back into like old habits of like accusing him of doing it. Like this was an in-state rivalry. It was bitter. Florida's backs were against the wall. They got embarrassed at home last year. They're trying to return the favor. Winning 26-7, I thought was a convincing win that you would expect from a top 3 team in the country. Like I think Miami should be happy with what they saw. And I know that there were uncomfortable moments. The last thing you want to see is Carson Beck throwing picks to Cormani McClain with the game in the balance. I get it. I understand why those old feelings started to creep back up. But I feel like a win like this for Miami, and I'm going to write this at some point this week, that win to me almost makes me believe in Miami more than if they would have just won 42-10. Like, does that sound crazy? Because it's like,
well, no, that is, if they'd won 42-10, it would have been better than what they did. But the thing is, Miami should be thrilled with this. And the thing is, Mario Cristobal had a lot of the same, like he had his own set of bad habits that he would fall back into, that the same things we're talking about with Billy Napier. But the difference is Mario Cristobal seems to have overcome them. Now, maybe he hasn't, but I would say that the game management, the Notre Dame game, the game management tonight suggest that he's learned some things.
And that's the thing that I mean. Like, obviously 42-10 is better because you just blow out a team. But when you're in a one-possession game on defense late in the game at home against a bitter in-state rival, when coaching and staying, true to yourself and believing is of utmost importance, and then your team not only responds in a way that doesn't lose the game, but then beats the crap. Because, like, here's the thing. The fourth quarter was what a lot of people thought the whole game was going to be. And the fact that he was able to draw that fourth quarter out of Miami when people were down in the dumps.
The first and fourth quarters were the same.
Yeah.
So they did it for half the game. Florida, the thing about it, and it's the same reason Florida fans should be mad, is the reason Miami fans should be happy. Because the team that Miami beat tonight in a dominant fashion, when you really look at it in its totality, because they were worried there for maybe a grand total of 8 minutes. They dominated the rest of the game.
Yeah, but when you were worried, those 8 minutes were a high leverage 8 minutes because you were at the end of the game.
Yeah. But like I said, they should be happy for the same reason Florida fans should be mad. This is a good, like, not well coached, but a very talented team that they beat. Like that Florida could go on that drive it went on tells you, like, there's something there. And you go back to the LSU game, it took 5 interceptions for LSU to win that game by 10 points. 5 interceptions.
Andy, this person here is a friend of mine. His name is Kevin, and he's a diehard Miami fan, and he said it was the worst 8 minutes of his life, but I'm going to use him as an example here.
Yeah.
If you ask him, there is an existential dread that exists in Miami fans about, oh shit, here we go again, or we're going to blow it. And I think that in a moment where, by the way, would have been the most torturous way for a Miami fan to go down, if the Cormani McClain would have turned into a loss, that would have been, you couldn't, like, Stephen King couldn't have come up with that. And like the fact that they were able to not only turn the game back into their favor when Kevin and everybody else was feeling that way, I think is it makes me more confident in Miami moving down the line when they play in close games.
Well,
we know that they're good enough to blow teams
twice
out.
We've seen them in high leverage situations against really talented teams. We'll see how good Notre Dame is. Obviously, they kicked the crap out of Purdue today, but they have handled it really well. Miami has. They've done exactly what they needed to do to win those games. They have taken control when they needed to take control, and I think they should be very proud. They should be very happy that there does seem to be some evolution with Mario Cristobal.
Yes, and like that's the thing with what we always talk about.
And there has been none with Billy Napier, so it's kind of a good time capsule there because they were hired the same week, and one had problems and seems to have fixed those problems. The other one keeps having the same issues he's always had.
Yeah, they didn't start at the same place either. I think it's important to acknowledge too that Mario Cristobal, to his credit, when he was hired as somebody who had built a program or continued to sustain a program at a high level by building it through the lines, and he's taken that blueprint and brought it to Miami. Like people call Billy Napier like Sun Built Billy. Like the starting points were different.
Mario had won a power conference title at Oregon. Like different resumes, but the Georgia Tech loss a couple of years ago was one of those that some coaches might never overcome. And I think he's going to overcome that. Like, I think you look at the way he's handled the end of game situations and the tight, high leverage situations in 2 big games this year. It's in exactly what you would want.
I agree. I think that last year, Miami was fun as hell. They had Cam Ward, they had Restrepo, they had all the dudes. But you kind of had a sense, I think even the staunchest Miami fan would, the defense is going to let us down. We're going to blow it. This year, after a win like this, I buy more into Miami as a legitimate top 4 team than I did at any point last year. And whether or not that comes to fruition, we got Florida State coming up here in a few weeks, Andy. There's some big games in the ACC coming down the pike. But, Notre Dame and Florida, 2 of their 4 wins this season. I think if you're a Miami fan, you sleep like a baby tonight. That was a really, really good win, in my opinion.
Well, I hope it's your opinion. You're the one saying it.
And by the way, to put a bow on it, Florida, God damn it. That's my opinion too. God damn it. What the hell is that?
I'm amazed you finally came around. Like tonight was your last straw. There's so many Florida fans that are in the chat just like, what, tonight? What?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not like I didn't see the writing on the wall, but tonight it's like that 4th down and 2. I was just like, this is who they are, period. And I won't be taking Florida points anytime soon.
Sworn to the storm. The Georgia Tech loss was on the refs. Mario gets blamed, but horrendous referees get excused. Don Chaney was clearly down. We're not relitigating this. If they'd taken knees, it wouldn't have mattered. Mario has fixed it.
He was down, though.
So what? They needed to take knees. Mario's fixed it. It's all good. All right, let us move to Bloomington, Indiana, because Indiana just put out a graphic on social media that said, this year's Indiana. No, I disagree, because this year's Indiana is probably better than last year's Indiana. Indiana beat Illinois 63-10. And I am not going to pretend that Illinois sucks now, because I bet Illinois doesn't suck. I bet Illinois is going to go on and win a bunch of games this year. Indiana just beat the living crap out of them. Indiana beat the living crap out of a good team. Indiana's a wagon. Prove me wrong.
I'm taking notes, Andy, because when you say things, I steal your ideas.
Good.
But and I tweeted this. It's like the most unoriginal tweet because Landis did it in Indiana. But like last year's Indiana is a funny, clever thing to say. But the hope is that this year's Indiana is, like you said, better than last year's Indiana. Last year's Indiana came out of nowhere. Last year's Indiana surprised people. Last year's Indiana was a team that people thought, skirted the system and got into the playoff because they didn't play anybody good. Now the question is, if you're going to play a top 10 team on the road, at home, and do that to them, I understand that Illinois, we might find out, isn't a top 10 team. But that was a very good football team. Like, I'm not going to pretend
I will bet you Illinois wins at least 8 games this year, and they beat them by 53 points.
Dude, Cignetti coaches like the opposing coach stole his girlfriend in high school. Like he coaches angry, bro. Like it's like
I was watching the last touchdown. I was watching the last touchdown. I was thinking, because didn't Brett Bielema once hung 70 on somebody in a Big Ten championship game when he was at Wisconsin, right?
Yeah,
I think he did it in Nebraska.
Correct. Yeah.
Like what was I was wondering what the handshake was going to be like at the end. Was it going to be Brett mad, or was Brett going to be like, wow, game recognized game, bro? That was incredible. But they are better than last year, because this is what they did to bad teams last year. They did this to a good team tonight.
Yes. And I understand Cignetti's desire, because you know how he is. He's been on the show multiple times. We know the man. He's a highly competitive individual, and I guarantee you, it's not a guarantee, it's a fact, that he resents the framing around his team last year. He resented the framing going into the playoff, and then even when they lost to Notre Dame, he resented the way that people remembered them. And Indiana became this mascot of scheduling discussion for the year offseason about how they were a fraud, they didn't play anybody good, and they stole a spot away from an SEC team because they didn't play anybody. And like, I understand the thought of like, if you guys want to say this thing about Indiana, here's a score for you to swallow. Now, this is a very different situation, Andy, than it was a year ago, because this year Indiana plays Oregon and Penn State. So if Indiana finishes, 10-2 or 11-1 and beats one of those other two teams on top of what they just did to Illinois, not only are they in the playoff, they are legitimately in it. And we don't have to have that discussion anymore. And I think that's important to him. And I also wonder,
they're also probably in the Big Ten championship game in that situation too.
Andy, I was actually thinking about this, but is the next step for Indiana in a sustained program build about getting to a point where people stop pretending like you don't belong? Like when people accept that you're a real team. And I think that is an important part of it. Like Indiana making a deep run to the Final Four last year, or winning a national championship, would have been the single most absurd turnaround any coach has ever had in a single year, regardless of the new rules in college football history, maybe. But if that was the first step and not the flash in the pan season that happens for teams every now and then, and even Kenny Dillingham at ASU said this, we don't want to be one of those teams that makes the playoff or has a good year and then goes back to obscurity. We want to be a team that backs it up and does it again, so it's expected. And I think that the mistake that I might have made in the offseason as it pertains to Indiana, because listen, I'm not going to act like on this show that I hadn't been talking up Illinois as this year's Indiana.
No, we both
offseason. And like all while at the same time simultaneously redundant. I'm going to work on my redundancies. Simultaneously not giving Indiana the credit that it deserves for returning a large portion of the players that actually, did it last year. Not to mention they might have upgraded at quarterback. And I got to say, man, if Illinois is an 8-win team, they beat the ever-loving snot out of those guys. Like those guys,
yes.
Because I was on Illinois coming into the week, and I love that you started the show intentionally. I think that it's a tinfoil hat Saturday. Yeah, you did it. My only 2 losses, I think, of the week. My God, that was the worst bet of the year. That was like not just like missing.
It was not even close.
It was blatantly wrong about the teams. Period. So, from this standpoint, Indiana is making a big jump in my personal top 10 tonight, but also,
want to guess where I have them in the projected playoff? Want to guess what seed I have them at now?
Would it be like a 6 or a 7?
3.
Oh,
they beat the hell out of them.
Sorry, for a second there, I was back in last year's rules.
No.
Yeah.
3. Yeah. That's
3.
right. That's right. Because if they didn't win the Big Ten, because I still have Ohio State number 1, I get you there. But no,
that's why
I have them at 3 right now.
But I put them 5. So we're on the same page. And here's the funny thing about
if they don't play well against Iowa next week, we can change it.
Yeah, but you get credit for doing good. Everybody always talks about how wins age and losses age, and why aren't you talking enough about my team right now? I'm sure Indiana fans were rightfully resentful of where they were. Indiana, I believe I left off of a way too early top 25 back in the spring.
I did too.
Entirely. Yep. And it's like, hey, buddy, you go out and you do it, you get the recognition eventually, and they're going to get it. So hats off to Indiana. That was incredible. They didn't just win a big game, because if they would have won 21-20, we would be talking really good about how, the fact that they did it like that reminded me of last year's team. And I think that you could make the case that this Illinois team they beat was better than any team they blew out a year ago.
I would agree with that. Michigan probably, I guess, is the closest. That Michigan team ended up beating Ohio State, but they didn't beat Michigan like this last year. They beat Nebraska like this last year.
Yeah.
This was an absolute ass kicking, and I can't wait to see, because they play at Iowa next week. That's going to be a great game, or maybe not, or maybe they beat the crap out of them too. And then 2 weeks after that, they're at Oregon. So, like, who had Indiana at Oregon and Eugene as maybe the game of the year in the Big Ten? And maybe it's not. Maybe that's still going to be Penn State, Ohio State. I don't know. But I cannot wait to see them play Oregon. I can't wait.
I can't wait. Next week we got Penn State, Oregon, but I think,
and Alabama, Georgia,
falling back into some stupid trap again or not, but I think that Indiana can play with those teams.
The team we saw tonight can play with anybody. There's no doubt in my mind. The team we saw tonight can play with anybody. All right.
And I just got to say, I have such an appreciation. Dude, I don't know. You were watching in 9 games and walking all over the place and getting resituated. Did you see the pre-halftime, or the post going into the halftime interview with Signetti? They asked him, what do you want to see out of your offense in the second half? And they had like 35 points already. And he goes, more points, smirked, and just walked off. The dude's an assassin. Like,
that's amazing. I love it. All right. Well, while we're talking about things that happened right before the half, let's talk about a game that had an incredible thing happen right before the half by the team that ended up losing the game. So we'll go to Lincoln, Nebraska, Michigan-Nebraska, and Nebraska has the Hail Mary to end the half to tie it up. This was a fun game, probably just brutal for Nebraska fans, because basically they could not stop Michigan's run game at any time they needed to stop it. Anytime there was a need for Michigan to get yards on the ground, they got the yards they needed on the ground, and Nebraska just could not stop them. The Michigan had a bunch of explosive runs, and that was the difference in this game.
Yeah. Also, Nebraska could not get Michigan off the field in third down scenarios in the second half. Michigan kept getting those tough first downs over and over and over again, it felt like. And we have spent a lot of time talking about Nebraska. And, listen, this is a team that had a chance tonight to really do something, to really prove this afternoon that they were ready to turn the page. And I don't know if I'm going to sit here right now, Andy, and tell you that it's impossible for them to have a 9-win or 10-win season still. I think that
it's a lot harder now.
But man, they had every opportunity to win it. And I got to tell you, I picked Nebraska coming into the game. And I thought for sure that they were going to win after that pre-halftime Hail Mary. You want to know why? Because it actually felt like, to me, that all the stuff that was happening to Nebraska the last 5 years, the grab-ass turnovers and the boneheaded penalties and the crazy things that would occur in one-possession games that they were losing, that I was like, you know what? They had a bad pick. They missed a field goal in the first half. It felt Nebraska-y to a certain extent. But, if they're going to go out and get a Hail Mary touchdown before halftime, maybe this is the scales of something
of justice
out a little bit.
Yeah, I did not feel the same way you did. I felt like Nebraska needed to do things in very hard ways that Michigan didn't. Michigan scored easily and Nebraska scored in very difficult ways. And so that's why, and it still was a close game. I mean, it winds up being a 3-point margin. So it's not like Nebraska got blown out. They were there. They just kind of made things harder on themselves than they needed to. And
and the other thing too is, I thought we were going to have this big overarching Dylan Raiola discussion tonight. It's if Dylan Raiola is as good as Nebraska fans think he is, we're going to know it. And
I think Nebraska's lack of a run game is the problem. I don't think Dylan Raiola is the problem.
The dude went 30 for 41 for 308 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have a bad pick, but I want to say this, having watched, the game, Nebraska's offensive line got its ass kicked in that game. He had no time. And this isn't a relitigation of whether or not Dylan Raiola is good enough to escape pressure and extend plays. He didn't really have much of a chance tonight. I'm not going to pin that on him.
Right.
And then their defensive
pressure
line
he faced was a symptom of the other problem is that line didn't do anything to help them run the ball. So that group has to get better. Like if Nebraska wants to have a good season, that group has to get better.
And I didn't think that the defensive line played well enough. Listen, Michigan's offense is better than it was last year, but Michigan's offense isn't particularly good. Can we still say that? Bryce Underwood is going to be a good player, and I think that
Bryce Underwood will be good, but right now they are not a dynamic offense. Now, I will say if they can have those explosive runs against everybody, then they will be in a lot of games. We saw one Justice Haynes run like that against Oklahoma. So maybe it is. Maybe we will see that against everybody. I don't know.
But that's vintage Michigan, right?
This was too much. Like today, you cannot let that happen. One of those, yes. 3 of them, no.
I think if you also were to just cut and paste Bryce Underwood's final stats, 12 of 22 for 105 yards, 4.8 average, and 0 touchdowns. Nebraska being at home, knowing what we knew about both of these teams coming into it, you would have felt pretty good, but they ran for 33 times for 286 yards. Yeah. Justice Haynes had that 75-yard touchdown run in the first half. They just gave up too much. And it was all trenches based, which is vintage Michigan, right? That's who they are. That's how they're going to beat you. And I didn't think that Michigan would be able to beat Nebraska that way, and they did. They did.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular, some of those runs. And I am curious, going forward, what's that going to look like? Are we going to see more of those? And hey, Sharon Moore will be back. So congratulations to Biff Poggi, 2-0 as the Michigan head coach.
We spent that entire time, Andy, talking about Nebraska, and I want to spend at least 1 minute talking about Michigan because they did win the game.
We did talk about how great they were running the ball.
Moving forward, though, because Michigan kind of felt like a little cooked after the Oklahoma loss. Next game is Wisconsin. They're probably going to win that. We'll get to that. Why? But 2 weeks from now, when they go back to the West Coast to play USC, that's going to be a big game. But then Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, all before Ohio State. Maybe something is starting to crystallize here a little bit for them too. So, big win for Michigan, and obviously not having your coach on the sideline for it. Biff said he was going to have a bunch of coffee-flavored ice cream, smoke a Cuban cigar, and then maybe go to the hospital. That's what they asked how his evening was going to go.
Coffee ice cream is pretty spectacular, by the way. So I listen.
I disagree.
Biff knows how to have a good time.
I disagree with that.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're not a sweets guy. Your opinions on sweets don't count.
I'm not a coffee guy.
You're also not a sweets guy. So you're out of your depth here. Out of your depth. Ari, let's go to Salt Lake City, because that was another one where I got that really wrong. But also, I don't think any of us predicted the Texas Tech win would happen in the way it did, because Texas Tech and Utah were playing a defensive struggle where everybody was making a lot of mistakes. Texas Tech kept doing the perfect peanut punches to get Utah players to drop the ball and recover the fumble. And then, Utah was picking people off. When Will Hammond came in for Baron Morton, everything changed. Will Hammond, who, by the way, is Mormon, the Texas Tech backup quarterback, grew up in Austin, but is Mormon, goes to Salt Lake City and balls out. He was incredible. And all of a sudden, the things that weren't working in the pass game for Texas Tech got so much easier, and they stomped Utah.
Yeah. This was going to be an interesting game because Texas Tech is just like the ultimate case study of, can you go buy a roster in the offseason and get better?
Yes, you can. That's the answer. They look so much faster than Utah.
Yeah. There were a lot of turnovers in the first half. It was kind of a very bizarre game. But then once the game got into the second half, Texas Tech just rolled over them.
Once Will Hammond got in there, it changed everything.
Do you want to do this? Should we do it?
What's that? Are we going to? Is he the guy?
Debate? Is he the guy?
I don't know if we need to do that now. Look, Morton will come back and they can figure it out themselves. Joey McGuire is not a dumb coach. If one guy's better than the other, he's going to play him.
All I know for sure is one is better today. That was incredible.
The offense moved so much more easily with Will Hammond running it. And it was utter domination at that point. And that's the part that I was so impressed by because, and I think the Texas Tech players and coaches, if you saw what they said after the game, because Joey McGuire is using what people are saying about them buying a roster. They've got they're billionaires just paying for everything. And the players, while yes, they are enjoying the checks they're receiving from said billionaires, they do feel like they're a pretty good team and that they play well together and that they're not a bunch of mercenaries just out for the biggest bag.
Yeah.
Can I say, can I make an argument?
Sure.
You can be out for the biggest bag, but also understand the team concept.
Sure. I do
it's
find
happened before.
You know what just hit me, and we've never discussed this on the show, but I find it to be quite interesting. And this is like an epiphany. But we like Joey McGuire. He is a guy's guy. He would be very high in the would you eat lunch with this person rankings.
I'd order biscuits and gravy.
Yeah.
Like he told me to.
When you think about his background and where he came from and the decades he spent being a high school coach, he is a very interesting person to be thrust into a financial world that he's in right now. Because even if you were to say, Florida went out and bought a roster, or Ohio State or Oregon, these are usually coaches who have dealt with the highest of high personalities, the bitterest of bitter recruitments, the cutthroat of cutthroatest people. And that didn't make any sense, but you know what I'm saying.
I get you.
Like, to come from a high school background where everything in high school football is team. Now, I know there's some high schools that recruit and, whatever. It's a little bit different in some places.
Yeah, it never happens in Texas high school football where he came from.
No. But it is an interesting. Do you think I'm full of shit here, or do you think do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
Interesting dynamic of high school football coach turns into roster manager.
I think he's done a good job making these guys play like a team, helping these guys play like a team.
Right.
Because
and I wonder if the high school background actually is better for making people play for like a team. I'm going to call him. I'm going to ask him about that this week.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Why don't we get him on the show?
We'll get him on the show. We'll get him on the show. I'll ask it. Then I get dibs on the column though, because it's my idea.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think now we look, does this reframe how you feel about the Big 12? Because I thought Utah was pretty good. Texas Tech just obliterated them. I do think there's some other good teams in the Big 12. I really liked what I've seen so far from TCU. They outlasted SMU today. Arizona State beat Baylor, but that was a nip and tuck game. So, but do we feel like there's now a favorite in the Big 12, which we said doesn't have favorites because everybody's too evenly matched? I feel like there might be a favorite now.
Yeah, I mean, TCU put it on SMU today.
They really put it on them. I mean, that game was back and forth.
I guess it was kind of back and forth. You know who is still out there lingering?
Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Kicked the crap out of West Virginia today. And, when we talk about Missouri, we'll talk about why them beating Kansas is pretty impressive. And what Kansas is doing makes that win even more impressive. But, Kansas looked unstoppable today. So, if we look at the Big 12, there's still, and Iowa State's still out there. They've got a couple of good wins. So there's still quite a race to be had. But I think now
Tech is your favorite now?
Well, yeah, because they do have, if you asked an NFL scout, who's your favorite roster in this league? Well, they're going to say Texas Tech. So I think they should be the favorite now, but that doesn't mean they're going to win it. They still have to go do it. But I like their chances.
Yeah.
Ari, let us move to. Well, let's talk about the game I attended. I attended. Sailor Joe's mad because I didn't do his super chat from the beginning. he didn't seem to understand. If you send me an Oklahoma super chat, I'll get to it when we talk about Oklahoma. So here's what Sailor Joe said. OU's offense struggled, and that fake out lost respect points. If Arch faced Sam Houston State before OSU, do you think it changes the early season outcome? Hook 'em. Okay, let's not go crazy because Arch Manning diced up Sam Houston State. Oklahoma looked really good. This game was kind of sloppy. There were a lot of penalties. Did it lose any respect points for you that Oklahoma did the Isaiah Satania play?
Buddy, you're not going to lose any respect from me doing anything on a football field to get a freaking win against Auburn.
I do want to know what the SEC says about this. I want them to say something about it because the rule does say, for those who don't know, here's what happened. Oklahoma runs a play. They get right back up the line of scrimmage. They send their receiver, Isaiah Satania. So the first play ends, and Satania, instead of going back to the middle of the field to watch for the signal and then get in formation, just walks toward the sideline. But he doesn't leave the field, and there are no substitutions. Now, the rule says you can't mimic any substitution pattern, whether you make a substitution or not. But Satania wasn't pretending to leave the field. He stood on the field. When they got in formation, he pointed at the ref. The ref nodded, you're on. And Auburn just didn't cover him. They didn't see him. So my question is this: are you not responsible as a defense for accounting for all 11 of the offense's players? Like when you looked across, if you're the middle linebacker at Auburn and you looked across the field and you only saw 10 players, you should have called timeout. If you're the coaching staff and you only saw that you're reacting to 10 players, you should be calling timeout. Now, I think Hugh Freeze and company, I think DJ Durkin was trying to call timeout, but they didn't get it in fast enough. And so he scored. But I do want to see what the SEC says about this. So I didn't lose any respect with that one. I gained a lot of respect for Oklahoma's pass rush. Holy crap. They were all over Jackson Arnold.
So what are people saying? Like that they cheated or that they were cheating or being grimy?
Yeah, they're saying that should have been a penalty. That should have been unsportsmanlike conduct.
You know why I don't think it should have been?
Because he never left the field, and you need to account for all 11 players on the field.
And also he signaled to the ref.
Right.
I
can't remember if he was off or on the line of scrimmage, but he did check with the ref to make sure he was in the correct place and he wasn't messing up the formation.
Yeah, by the way, guys, this was war.
It was. Auburn's defense is nasty. Okay? And Oklahoma's defense is nastier. Oklahoma was all over Jackson Arnold, and Jackson Arnold can move. But Jackson Arnold got sacked 10 times, including 2 in a row at the end of the game. The worst beat. So I picked Auburn plus 6.5 in this game. Auburn's losing by 5. They're facing a 4th down. They're not going to make the 4th down, obviously. But all they have to do is not take a freaking safety. And Jackson Arnold gets buried by R. Mason Thomas.
I needed that. That was a big swing in our race for each other. Andy, just to go back to the Satania play real quick, the SEC did provide a statement. Do you want me to read it, though, real quick?
Oh, yeah. They said it was deceptive.
In Saturday's Auburn at Oklahoma football game with 10:50 remaining in the second quarter, a pass was thrown to Oklahoma number 5, resulting in a touchdown. Oklahoma number 5 participated in the previous play, which was a first down play from the 22-yard line. After the first down play was completed, Oklahoma number 5 continued towards his team's sideline, but stopped just before reaching the sideline. NCAA football rule 9-2 Article 2 was labeled unfair tactics, with paragraph 8 stating no simulated replacements or substitutions may be used to confuse opponents. No tactic associated with substitutes or the substitution process may be used to confuse opponents. This includes any hideout tactic with or without substitution. The officiating crew did not properly interpret the action as a hideout tactic. If properly officiated, the second down play should have been resulted in an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty of 15 yards assessed from the previous spot. Appropriate accountability will be applied without additional comment. So
appropriate accountability. So they're going to suspend the crew. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Well, it was a touchdown that wouldn't have been a touchdown. So that is a big change. I mean, if that is what they say, that's what they say. And the rule is the rule. because I think they probably have worked on that rule a little bit over the last few years, but I kind of disagree with that. Like if he didn't leave the field, he wasn't simulating a substitution. You either substituted or you didn't. So, but that's the rule, and they said it was applied improperly. So, sorry, Auburn. Now, don't let your quarterback get sacked 10 times, and you don't have to worry about it. But
yeah.
So that's okay. All that said, I can't wait to see Oklahoma play Red River. I cannot wait to see Arch Manning try to deal with this defense.
Sure.
Red River might be a like a 9-6 game. I don't know.
That would be great. That means that the clock would move very quickly, right? And then we get to go eat corn dogs faster. But it's going to be a great game, and I'm super excited about it. I also do not believe that Auburn is cooked. I don't know if there's any I don't know if this is any one team. We had that discussion of one team goes right, one team goes left. Auburn plays A&M, I think, next weekend, right? They do.
And Auburn is a talented team, and I got to tell you, Ari, I think, and they missed some shots at Cam Coleman. He had a beautiful touchdown catch in the second quarter, but if Jackson Arnold is more on target on some of those deep shots to Cam Coleman, this is a very different game. I would throw at Cam Coleman every third play.
Yeah, he is.
As soon as I thought I had single coverage, I would go deep with him every single time.
I think you could make the case, honestly, if you were doing a college football player draft, that Cam Coleman would be a top 10 pick. So I hope that appropriately reflects his production and, attempts to get him the ball into the future. I do think that Arnold could have been more on the mark in this game. I don't think
part of it was Arnold had crimson jerseys in his face the entire game.
Yeah, Oklahoma's defense is nasty.
Oklahoma's defense is nasty and deep. They probably have the deepest front seven in the SEC, which you're used to that being Georgia or Alabama or maybe Texas, but it might really be Oklahoma this year.
So one final part of this, I think, Andy, before we go to the next game. Mateer's a dog. Mm-hmm. Okay, first of all. Yep. Tell us about the funny Johnny Manziel moment at the end that you saw.
Well, I'll tell you why Mateer's a dog, first of all, because the Auburn defense had been affecting him too. But really the difference in this game was John Mateer's pocket awareness and mobility versus Jackson Arnold's pocket awareness and mobility. Because if Jackson Arnold had still been Oklahoma's quarterback playing against Auburn's defense, he probably gets sacked a bunch of times. And John Mateer only got sacked once. Mm-hmm. And he's so good at moving out of trouble. But he still wasn't having the best game in the world when they got the ball after Auburn scored to take the lead. So Auburn scores to take a 1-point lead. Oklahoma gets the ball. And that was the best drive Oklahoma had all day. It was John Mateer was zipping the ball in there. And then the design runs for Mateer had not been working at all. And then when they needed it, that's how he scored. He goes around the right side, dives into the end zone, touchdown. That was the most successful design quarterback run they had all day. And if you remember the Michigan game, and if you watch the Temple game, they had a lot more successful design quarterback runs. So Mateer was fantastic when he absolutely had to be. And so after the game, somebody asked him, "Hey, they're calling you Money Mateer. How do you like that?" And he goes, "I actually kind of like it." He's like, "But I feel like I don't want to do the Money Manziel thing because we're kind of two very different people." And gets a laugh. And he's like, "I didn't know nothing against Johnny Manziel. He's awesome." And so it just sort of dies right there. And then he gets done talking, and he's about to walk out of the room. And was it Kerry? Kerry, were you the one who asked him?
I thought it was Eddie.
It was Eddie. Eddie Radosevich asked him, "Hey, do you want to expand on that difference between you and Johnny Manziel?" And without missing a beat, John Mateer goes, "I'm going to church in the morning."
I don't know. It would have been hard for Johnny to make it to church, I think, from the stories that I've heard.
Yeah. But no, Mateer is a lot of fun
like
to
him
watch.
at all? Do you think he plays like him at all?
Very similar. Yeah.
God,
No, and I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and I think probably there's some people like our guy Sailor Joe, who's a Texas fan, who's trying to cope right now because they're not going to destroy Oklahoma like they did in Red River last year. That want to think both these teams were bad and this was just sort of a slop fest. Both these teams are good. This was the opposite of last year's Auburn-Oklahoma game where you watched it and you're like, oh boy, it doesn't. Somebody's going to win this game, but the season ain't going to go great for either one of these teams.
Yeah,
I'm telling you right now, these two teams are good.
Yeah, and hats off to Brent Venables, man. 2 wins, one against Michigan, one against Auburn in the first 4 games. This is a guy that could easily have been in a position where people, he could have been in Billy Napier's position right now. What if they were 2-2? You don't think that'd be happening? So, and they're not.
But you know what? So, he hired now. Venables is calling the defense.
He did.
So it's like he gave up. He didn't give up play calling, but he hired a good offensive coordinator, which is what he needed to do. That was the change that needed to be made, and he made it. So
yeah, I also don't think that anybody in college football can. I mean, maybe 10 people in the same conversation of calling defense as well as he has historically too.
Right.
So
and the difference is Billy Napier is not a great offensive play caller and Brent Venables is a great defensive play caller. So that's what it comes down to. But I'm really excited to see Oklahoma and Auburn going forward. I don't feel like Auburn should hang its head too much about what happened because I think they're going to beat a lot of teams.
And I don't know if this is an appropriate segue, Andy. We've got a list of demarcation here that we got to get through. But are we going to talk about Texas and Sam Houston State, or can we make a quick point?
We can. Yeah, make a quick point with Texas and Sam Houston State.
Okay, so Arch Manning didn't look broken today. Okay, now you can excuse that away from, hey, they played.
Yeah, if we're going to kill him for looking the way he looked against UTEP, we can praise him for looking that way against Sam Houston State.
18 for 21, 309 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is the perfect game that you want in a game like this. Texas won 55-0. And there was one play, though, in the first quarter that I wanted to talk to you about, and I want to get your take on, where Arch Manning took a short run into the end zone to extend their lead to 14-0. 45 seconds left. Do you know this play I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw that. You're talking about the celebration.
The celebration play where Arch Manning stood over the defender and, yapped at him in like a very demeaning way. And I really, really, really am struggling with this because on one hand, Manning has been through a lot the past few weeks. And you can imagine that he's got a lot of bottled emotions about being called a bust and a loser constantly for the entire season. He's trying to find his swagger. He lets it out there. 2, he flexed on a future Progressive Insurance claims adjuster. And I don't know whether or not that's the time. What is your take on Arch Manning's behavior there? Does that make
if you're out there and it's a spontaneous celebration and it's not like a planned dance or anything, that's fine. It's fine. You're just riding the emotions of the moment. It's fine.
I'm not saying he did anything.
It's fun.
Wrong.
I just like the way he did it to a future Progressive Insurance claims adjuster.
Andy, it's not that he did anything wrong, but I saw 2 schools of thought here, which is J.D. Pickell, our wonderful, amazing colleague, said, I want to see more of this Arch Manning. And then all the replies were, you want to see him flexing on Sam Houston State? And I thought it was such a funny circumstance because you don't know who Arch Manning is yet. And there's a lot of doubt on one hand. But on the other hand, it's like, don't you want him to be a dog? Or is being a dog in that situation in a game that you're going to win by 60 not the time to illustrate that? I don't know what it is.
Displays of emotion are fine. It's fine. It's okay.
And who knows? Maybe that guy was yapping at him the entire pregame or something. You don't know why somebody does something. But I do think that it is funny. And Texas has some games coming up. We've got some games coming up.
That's right. And one of those games is Red River. Now they go to Gainesville first. So that'll be something. That might be 6-3. That game might be 6-3. Or Arch may find himself, or DJ Lagway might find himself, but who really knows? Who knows? All right, let us go to Columbia, Missouri, where Lenora Sellers did play for South Carolina and looked pretty good. But Missouri is a pretty good football team, and Ahmad Hardy is a bad man who I would not want to attempt to tackle.
Got a text from an old Mizzou fan tonight. Holy shit, dude, we might be actually good this year.
Yeah, you think? I think you're very good this year.
Yeah, Purdue has been playing really, really well. And I know that South Carolina kind of hobbled into this game a little bit, but Lenora Sellers threw for 300 yards in this game, and Mizzou won by 9 at home. Purdue went 16 of 27 for 171 yards and a touchdown and interception. Ahmad Hardy, 138 yards rushing, 6.3 yards per rush and a touchdown, and Purdue had 72 yards rushing. Are we starting to question how good Mizzou actually is this year?
You mean, do we think they could be really good? Yes, they could be really good.
Really good.
Guess who? Now they play UMass next week. That's not going to tell us anything. Then they have a week off.
I mean, it could tell us something if it goes the wrong way, but
then they have a noon game against Alabama at 4-0 Field. That game could tell us a lot about a lot of things.
Dude, Mizzou has a 4-game stretch against Bama, Auburn, Vanderbilt, and A&M, and then Mississippi State, then Oklahoma. So the fun thing is that we can speculate and we can live in the, if you're a Mizzou fan, just live in the fantasy of being really good. But
it may not be a fantasy.
By November 11th or by November 15th, November 8th, I should say, we'll know.
Yeah,
if it's a fantasy or if it's real.
We will know. So
Kansas wins aging well.
Kansas wins aging well because Kansas destroyed West Virginia. Mm-hmm. Staying in the SEC, Ole Miss beats Tulane thoroughly. Ole Miss's defense showed up. Trinidad Chambliss. We had the Will Hammond conversation with Texas Tech. Let's have the Trinidad Chambliss conversation with Ole Miss. Now, Austin Simmons, when he had to come in last week against Arkansas, looked very hurt still. Like that ankle still needs some time to recover. So we may get a little more Trinidad Chambliss before Lane Kiffin has to figure out what he wants to do. But Trinidad Chambliss is awesome.
In the meantime, Lane Kiffin is bouncing a basketball on the sideline for one of his players to dunk. And I thought that was seriously one of the most disrespectful things I've ever seen in my entire life because he did it in the middle of the game.
Yes. And
it's the most Lane Kiffin thing ever.
Well, it wasn't like Tulane was putting up much of a fight. I said this game would have a bunch of points because Ole Miss's defense had not looked that great. Well, Ole Miss's defense looked awesome. So now we may have to reframe how we feel about Ole Miss. Now, obviously, they've got SEC games to play, and we'll get a better idea of what's going on with them. But that was a pretty resounding win. That was a very emphatic win. Now, guess what? Next week, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:30 local. LSU comes to Oxford.
Yeah, we got a weekend next weekend, don't we, pal? We got a really good weekend next weekend.
Buddy, you got that one? Guess what's at noon next weekend?
It's not Bama, Georgia, right?
Notre Dame at Arkansas is at noon.
Oh.
That game's going to be crazy. Arkansas, Memphis was nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts.
If Notre Dame's defense is bad, then Arkansas can make that game interesting for sure.
If Notre Dame's defense is bad, Arkansas is going to score 40.
Right.
Arkansas loses a heartbreaker against Memphis. Fumble there at the end allows Memphis to take over and wind down the clock. But Memphis came back from down 18 to win this game. Tulane loses to Ole Miss. Memphis beats Arkansas. We keep changing who we think is going to emerge from the group of 5 every week, but I've got Memphis in that spot now in the projected playoff. Now, we will see because I'll tell you right now, I think it'll be the American champ. I don't think it's going to be the champ of any of the other leagues. I think it'll be the American champ because there's actually a lot of really good teams in the American. Because USF's not bad. They just lost to Miami. Tulane, probably not bad. Just lost to Ole Miss. Memphis beat Arkansas. Watch out for North Texas. They got their first conference win in overtime against Army. There's good teams in the American. This is going to be a wild race in that conference.
Yeah. Memphis is good, man. I saw we were catching a touch. Were you on the same side as me here? We both took Memphis, right?
Yeah, I took Memphis. Yep.
Yeah. I don't think that people thought that this was a a game that Arkansas could lose outright. I
didn't either. I thought Memphis would cover. I didn't think they'd win outright, but they did.
Yeah,
that fumble was huge. That was a
big fumble.
Talk about good peanut punches. That was a great peanut punch.
Did you used to peanut punch your friends in class, like in high school, like with their books, or is that just like an Arizona thing?
It seems mean.
Dude, people used to like come up to me while I was like carrying books in the hallway and just smack them out of my hands.
Just knock them out.
Yeah, it never happened. You ever heard of the squirrel tap? They ever do that in Florida? Or
no?
You know what the squirrel tap is?
Is it a nut shot?
Yeah. That's what we used to call it. I don't know if they call it something different in Florida.
Sack tap is what they called it in Florida.
Yeah, squirrel tap in Phoenix. But
yeah. Did the person who did any of this stuff to you end up in a Lifetime movie or two?
For those who don't know, I went to high school with a person named Mark Grossman, and he was a devastating.
I wasn't going to bring up names. Like I don't know if this person did anything like that. Okay,
he's famous. No, he didn't pick on me. I thought we weren't friends, but we weren't like,
okay.
Like we were friendly, but I never saw him pick on anybody. But he was like the prototypical handsome dude in high school, like that you would depict or that you would see depicted in a Lifetime movie. And he turned out to be like this 6'4", devastatingly handsome dude with like a 6-pack. And guess what? He grew up to depict those types of high school kids in Lifetime movies in real life. He's an actor and now is like one of the main characters in The Young and the Restless, which still is a show and very popular. And like, he's got like hundreds of thousands of followers. And I think a lot of old ladies are attracted to him.
There's so many granny panties in the mail.
Go look up. That's where maybe the panties in Mike, if he came and visited, maybe that's where the panties came from. I don't know. Mark Grossman and I went to high school and graduated together. Go look him up. He's really hot and he's on TV.
All right. I have nowhere to go from there, but we do need to talk about Notre Dame. Got their first win, 56-30 against Purdue in a game that was delayed by lightning for a long time. And Purdue had a play that I think everybody in football is going to copy now. And it was one of those things where everybody's like, we've never seen this, but why have we never seen that? How come nobody's done this before? It was like a basic read option handoff. And then the quarterback just floats backward and the back throws it to the quarterback on the sideline and he runs in for a touchdown. How did nobody ever think of this before? But it was awesome. But Notre Dame scored a lot more. Jadarian Price was all over the place.
Guys, I gotta say I'm sorry to you all. We had John Ewing from BetMGM on the show this week. Mm-hmm. And Andy, I don't know if you remember, after we got done recording, he said, I forgot to tell somebody a trend. And the trend was teams that start off 0-2 who remain in the top 15 are horrid against the spread. And I don't remember what the stat was or how far back it went. Yep. But basically it was bet on Purdue. You guys might have seen that Purdue was a 26.5 point dog in this game. I took his advice and I just played a small bet on this just because I like the trends and he's smart. John, it looked like this was going to be an L the entire way. Notre Dame won by 26 and they got hooked. It was a win. And I wish we would have been able to give that out on the show. We forgot to do it. Next time John Ewing comes on, I'm going to have him. I'm going to make a point to open the interview with weird trends and stats that show that.
What do you have for us, John? That's where you need to start. Just what do you have for us?
Because it was a backdoor cover too. Notre Dame was winning 56-23, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
And then Purdue scored late to backdoor it, and I was like laughing because it's like, God damn it, John Ewing, you nailed it again.
I did.
So if you're a gambler, you need to make sure that you stick with both of our guys, Tyler Shoemaker and John Ewing. They know their stuff and repping our brand tonight.
That's right here. Presented by BetMGM. Andy and Ari on 3. Ari, now we've talked about the good news for a lot of teams. Let's get to the bad news. Do we want the bad news in Clemson or the bad news in Madison?
Are we going to do it separately or are we going to form them together?
They're not the same thing. So I think we do them separately.
Separately. Okay, let's start with Wisconsin. It's bloodier.
Oh, my God. They're so bad. Maryland destroys Wisconsin today. Now, we do need to give Maryland their flowers. This was an excellent game. Malik Washington, their freshman quarterback, is going to be really good. He's been good so far this season already. You can tell that he's going to keep getting better. He was outstanding today. But Wisconsin is so bad. Now, they started Billy Edwards Jr. in this game. Remember, he got hurt in game 1, hurt his knee. He came back, but gave it a go, and it was clear that he was still hurt. So they bring Danny O'Neal in. And look, you can't blame this on the quarterback being hurt. They did not even have a pulse for most of the day. They were down 27-3 late in the fourth quarter. I just don't understand how they can be this bad under Luke Fickell. Like, when they took the job, I was like, how could this possibly go wrong? This guy was a winner at Cincinnati. He built these great rosters at Cincinnati. Now he's at a place where they've got money. So how on earth could this possibly fail? And it is an utter and abject failure. And Ari, remember the text message I sent to you on Wednesday afternoon when I texted you about Wisconsin?
Of their schedule?
I said, what is Wisconsin's record if they lose to Maryland on Saturday?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Wisconsin's going to be an underdog in the remaining 9 games, or the remaining 8 games. Like 2-10's on the table, guys. It's on the table.
Yeah. Yeah, it is on the table. Andy, how mean should I be on a scale from 1 to 10?
Tell the truth.
The question that I have more than anything is, do you think that this is a Luke Fickell issue, or do you think this is a Wisconsin program issue?
It's probably both. But here's the thing. Wisconsin is what? I don't have the list in front of me of the richest athletic departments, but they're a Big Ten school, so they're probably somewhere between 15 and 20. You've got money. Buy better players. Whether that's Luke Fickell or some other coach, buy better players. Like, Luke Fickell has not bought better players. Luke Fickell looked at the roster, coached it, and somehow decided that they didn't need to get better athletically. Like, if you go back to his first year, when it was quite obvious they needed to get better athletically, they needed to be faster, they needed to be more dynamic. They didn't get better players. And there's no reason that Indiana can get such good players and you can't at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that.
Yeah. And I guess, like, if you feel like you can get good players, and there's a way out of everything, right? But I do think we spent so much time. We were at the Athletic together when this all was going down. And we were talking about Wisconsin and how they were committed to winning, and the fact that they fired Paul Chris in the middle of the year, and then they made a big splash to get the trendiest G5 head coach who took Cincinnati to the playoff and all this stuff. And it's just like, I wonder if it's or during that conversation too, we also knew one unequivocal thing about Luke Fickell, and that was that he was not going to jump at any job, and that he was only going to take one job.
He had to have looked at this thing and said, okay, this is a good situation. So I don't understand why this isn't working. But the only thing I can think of is he doesn't know what his roster is supposed to look like if you think you're going to win in the Big Ten, or because there's no way you just can't get anybody. You have money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like square peg, round hole type of deal here. Because, like, I don't think that Luke Fickell all of a sudden sucks as being a coach. I just don't know if, like, Luke Fickell can exist there. Like, I wonder if he's going to go be a defensive coordinator for Notre Dame or something next year, and then just 2 years from now.
Notre Dame might need one. So
I'm just saying, like, just as a hypothetical scenario, and then he takes another job somewhere else.
Sam in the chat, y'all are missing the Grinch here. Yes, Alex Grinch is coaching with Luke Fickell now. So there is that.
Yeah. I don't want to be too mean.
It's bad. The buyout is really high. Let me put it this way. If they paid Luke Fickell's buyout, it would be the second highest buyout ever paid, behind Jimbo Fisher's. I don't know if they would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not be feeling very safe if I were their AD right now either. Chris McIntosh probably isn't feeling the most safe.
Andy?
Craig says be meaner.
How much money would you pay for life-saving surgery?
I mean, whatever I had to.
Is that what Wisconsin's going to feel at the end of the year?
I think it's what Wisconsin feels right now. River, play the video of the fans. I mean, that's just out loud. And so Luke Fickell got asked about it. I will say he had a pretty good response.
As you could imagine at this point, a lot of frustration from the fan base. I'm sure you heard the chants during the game.
What did they say? Something? Yeah, I'm sure my family.
What's your message to the fan base?
I feel them. Yeah, I feel what they. I feel what their pain is. But there's nothing that we can do other than keep grinding, keep working. We have to play better. So, I don't get upset. I don't, lose my mind because of what the way they feel. They're passionate about what they do and what they want to see, and that's what you love about this place. And that's what that's what you signed up for when you came here, knowing that this place is passionate about it. They've got a history, and they expect more, just like I do.
I'm not sure they're capable of playing better. That's the problem. They play Michigan next. We'll see. I mean,
like the play better.
I can see Michigan. I can see Michigan just running through them.
The play better thing is like something you would hear from a team that they don't have the players to win.
No. Like Billy Napier's team needs to play better. They have the players to win. Like Luke Fickell's team can play better. It's still going to lose most of these games.
Yeah. Yeah. He was going to say something about his family in that quote and then stopped himself. I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did pick up on that. And it's frustrating because you don't want people to have to go through stuff like that. But when you take jobs that pay what these jobs pay, and look, if Luke Fickell gets fired, he never has to work again. Like, if you're going to take that, part of that comes with the pressure to actually produce. And he has done nothing to earn that.
Lovingly stand in a loud football stadium and having everybody say fire Wasserman in front of my family for that buyout.
We get that every day now. We don't get anywhere near what Luke Fickell gets paid.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, not in front of my family. That would suck.
My kids sometimes read the comments and I'm like, why do you do that? Why do you read the comments?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't read the comments.
I don't have to think about that yet. But
all right.
It's just, it's just, I hate to say it this way. It's just sad. It's just sad.
It is sad.
The situation they're in.
And we all got it wrong. I'll be the first to admit I got it wrong. I thought Luke Fickell was going to be awesome at Wisconsin.
I wonder if he thinks he made a mistake going there. And I asked you
I'm sure he thinks he made a mistake going there.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does. But that's where they are, and they're going to have to figure out what they want to do.
I just feel like Michigan State or even Illinois or a team in the Big Ten that's closer to Ohio, and it just fixing Wisconsin is more complex than I think we gave it.
But it's not. Barry Alvarez gave you the blueprint. Just do what he did with good players. Sign better players. Like it's we tend to make things too hard sometimes.
But I don't think Fickell went to Wisconsin to do what Barry Alvarez did, which is the problem, I think.
Yeah. Well, whoever they hire next, do what Barry Alvarez did. Use that Big Ten money to buy good players, win games. It's not that complicated. It really isn't. Let's go to a situation that actually is complicated because Dabo Swinney is not just Clemson's best coach ever. He is one of the best coaches in the history of college football. He's won 2 national titles. He's won 8 of the last 10 ACC titles. He took a program that was, slightly above the midline of its conference and turned it into one of the best programs in the country. There's no denying what Dabo Swinney has done. There's also no denying that Clemson is bad this year. Syracuse went to Memorial Stadium and clobbered them. Fran Brown, who we love on this show, he's been on this show, and you can't, I mean, you talk to the guy for 2 minutes and you get it. Fran Brown's done a great job at Syracuse, but that Syracuse team should not be beating this Clemson team like this in Clemson. Shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I don't know what is wrong with Dabo's team.
I wrote off this second week in a row. I wrote a Clemson column, but I did not write a column this week off of his rant. And if you listen to the show or follow college football, I'm sure you're keenly aware of
what he said.
The nature of
I'll
that
go do this
rant.
somewhere else and I'll win a bunch of games. I'm just getting started. I'm 55.
Yeah. If they're tired of winning, they can send me on their way because that's all we've done is win. And then he said is winning the league out of 8 in the last 10 years. And I think that if I feel like I'm torn on this too, because on one hand, Dabo Swinney is responsible. Like Dabo Swinney has been so good at Clemson that they will build a statue of that man outside of the stadium.
Of course.
And I think
they would have already probably. I bet he won't let him.
He's a statue coach. So I understand from his standpoint, we won the league 8 out of the last 10 years, and you guys are sick of me. Why a person in his position would resent that. But on the other hand, I don't think that his past glory excuses him from current failure. And whether or not Clemson wins the ACC is the standard, wherever you stand on that. The fact is that they have not had a team that could conceivably win a national championship in 6 years. 6 years. And in 2020, they made the playoff, and they got their doors blown off by Ohio State. And that was the last time that they were a team that people thought could. The following year, I think they lost 2 games, and then they lost 3 and then 4. And then, the Georgia game happened a few years ago, and they were been blown out by really good teams. And the question that I have for Dabo is winning the ACC the standard at Clemson, or is fielding a team that could conceivably win a national championship the standard? And how many years?
Well, I mean, it's written all over the walls. Do you know what the standard is?
What does it say?
Best is the standard. Best is the standard. That's what it says on every wall at Clemson.
The question. That was the first time I was at Clemson was last week. Cut me some slack here. But the question to me, if I were to ask Dabo, is how many years of not having a team good enough to win the national title does it take before you think fans have a right to be upset? Because that rant was a resentful rant. There was an ultimatum in that rant. You can tell
also, that. You're talking about not winning the national title. Like, this team's not going to win the ACC.
Yeah.
This team needs to worry about finishing 500 or better. If what we saw today is representative of what we can expect from them going forward.
Is absolutely banana land, because they do have a team that I thought, at least on paper, would have been one of the deeper, more talented teams in the sport. I considered ranking Clemson number 1 in my preseason. And of all the things that I've been wrong about this year, Arch Manning, Heisman stuff, and DJ Lagway, number 1 quarterback stuff, I think the thing that I have been most wrong about, the most egregiously wrong about, was what Clemson was going to be this year.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I mean, DJ looked pretty bad again tonight.
He did, but Clemson has so many good players individually that this product that is being put on the field does not make sense.
And
it
people
doesn't
get
make sense.
all like wound up of like, oh, you spent all offseason hyping up Clemson. What's your problem? They're different than they used to be. And it's like, dude, our analysis is simple. It's not complicated. We looked at their roster. We saw the players that are going to be taken highly in the NFL draft. We put 2 and 2 together with a coaching staff that's won repeatedly and thought, hey, but there's something deeper here. This isn't transfer portal stuff. This isn't recruiting stuff. When your team is this bad, when you have really good players, there's something rotten happening there. And I don't know what it is. I'm not there every day. I can't analyze it, but it is abundantly clear that something is off or amiss or wrong. And I think that the Clemson fans have every right to be disappointed or upset with the product that they put on the field. And I also think that Dabo Swinney has every right to be resentful of fans being disappointed in him. I don't know what the right answer is here, but Dabo is still getting paid $11.5 million a year to put on a national championship contender team on the field. And he also is one of the greatest coaches of all time. So wherever you stand on that, I guess, is your temperament as a fan. I'm sure Clemson fans don't even disagree on how to view him. The one thing I do know for sure is that Clemson is still paying a coach to meet a standard that is not being met. Whether he won 10 national championships or 0, it's not being met, period.
Yep. Speaking of coaches who've won lots of championships and not meeting a standard, guess who has Clemson next on their schedule?
I have to look this up.
Bill Belichick in North Carolina in 2 weeks. What happened to Bill Belichick in North Carolina on Saturday? They went to Orlando and they got dog walked by UCF, 34-9. It wasn't ever really close. And UCF, you remember the TCU players after they beat North Carolina in the end zone? They recreated the mermaid picture of Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson.
I do.
Well, this time UCF used Nitro, its mascot, to recreate another famous Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson picture, except instead of Jordan Hudson on top, it's a giant W.
This sport, man.
This is all we're going to get. The Clemson will be the only team that doesn't do this to North Carolina, maybe because North Carolina might beat Clemson at this rate. But whenever teams beat North Carolina, they're going to crush Bill Belichick on social media. They're going to crush Jordan Hudson on social media. We still don't know when that first episode of the Hulu show is coming out, but man, I can't wait to see that.
I'm not talking about this.
Thank you, Jordan. I'm sorry.
By the way, you cannot take that picture or any of those ridiculous pictures and think you're not going to get crushed eventually from it.
It is.
Now, listen, she's
bad.
A beautiful woman. He's proud to be with her. I'm sure there are a lot of people in the chat who would like to take a picture with a beautiful woman like that if they could get that person. If my wife said, Ari, we're going to the beach, I need you to put a hook in my mouth and you're going to reel me out of the ocean, I would probably do it too. Okay, I didn't win.
Definitely would. I've seen the pictures from your themed family parties.
That was a 90th birthday party for her grandma. Okay, and it was a 70s theme. It's not that crazy. I've never done anything like what. And by the way, I don't know if you know this. The birthday party that you mocked me incessantly for all week was mermaid themed. And there was
I saw the pictures.
And there was a woman. Did you see all the pictures?
No, I just saw you.
They hired a woman to sit on the edge of the pool in a mermaid getup
costume,
and like her whole job was to entertain kids at the end of the pool.
Was it Jordan Hudson?
And it reminded me of Jordan Hudson, and I was laughing to myself at this party. And I have a few people who listen to the show are at the party. If you're listening to it now, you know what I'm talking about. There is an endless number of funny graphics you can make to Needle, North Carolina. It is endless. That one with Nitro with a W is a 10 out of 10 hilarious. And I honestly am looking forward to seeing how other people do it.
Yeah, but Clemson won't do it. But maybe because Clemson might not win. What a sport. Ari, we'll be back with videos on Sunday. We have games to prep everybody for. Early previews of Alabama, Georgia, of Oregon, Penn State. We got picks on Monday. This ain't stopping anytime soon. This freight train keeps on rolling. What a season so far. Thanks so much for being with us. Thanks so much for taking the ride with us. We will talk to you again soon.